make some sense of it all, but I can see it makes no sense at all. Is it cool to go to sleep on the floor? 'Cause I don't think that I can take anymore. Clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. Here I am, stuck in the middle with you.
Good morning, everyone. Lots going on as usual. Today is Saturday, February 21st, 2026. Olympic hockey is on. I think it's right now. The first period has started, I think, or they're doing it starts at like 8 o'clock and they're doing the, beginning stuff. I'm not sure. But it looks like I am not. Well, I'm hoping to catch the third period. We'll see if I can catch the third period. I think we're recording the game, but whatever. It's all good. Why is Canada poorer than Alabama? We have more resources, but no political will to do anything about that at all. New York is having roads blocked for the Muslim call to prayer. We'll look at that. And Toronto's got a new sign. And we're not allowed to say Merry Christmas, but Ramadan is got to be central to Toronto's identity right now. Supreme Court influenced by foreign actors. Trump is being Trump, and the Supreme Court said you can't have tariffs, and he said, I've got evidence that the Supreme Court is being influenced by foreign actors, foreign countries. So it's going to be wild. Pretty interesting stuff. Complex education in Alberta is 5 in 30 kids don't speak English. I was talking about that earlier, and I've got a tweet talking about that with, I think it might be the Minister of Education, but I can't remember exactly who tweeted it. But that's what I'm talking about. You can't have 5 kids who just plain don't speak English and try and get through Hamlet. It's just not going to work. Okay, sorry. 15-hour wait times for emergency services. It's an emergency. And so 15 hours is too late in an emergency often. So that's not good, and that's rampant across Canada. We pay high taxes for healthcare we can't access. That's a problem. Supreme Court ruling against Trump, and Trump flips it. I already talked about that a little bit, so there's lots to get to. Let's get to it. First, we're talking about why is Canada poorer than Alabama? Why is that happening? Wall Street Mav says Canada is the second largest country on earth with unlimited levels of oil, natural gas, hydroelectricity, and minerals relative to the size of their population, 1/10 of the USA. Justin Trudeau and Mark Carney have messed it up so badly that Canada is now poorer than Alabama. Damn. I mean, that's not good, guys. We have the ability to, if we just did something with the wealth our country has, if we did anything at all with it, we could be rich. But instead, we allow communist liberals to run us, and we can't do anything. We're not allowed. We're not allowed to do anything at all. And actually, earning your wage, we've got to tax the wage and then add taxes to everything you buy. Wild. Absolutely incredible. And we're not mad about this. We should be furious, because you know what they do with those taxes? They send them to Ukraine. They send them to Africa to put up posters on the beach that says, don't poop on the beach. Meanwhile, we have people pooping on the beach in Canada. It's crazy town. Mario says, let me tell you how this is possible. So this is the Globe and Mail. Yesterday, I talked about this. Out of nowhere, Canada becomes poorer than Alabama. How is that possible? It's not out of nowhere. Let me tell you how it's possible. A drama teacher was elected 3 times. Selected? Let's call it selected. We spent billions on international gender programs on purpose to waste our money, by the way. We refused to expand oil and gas to Europe and Asia, again, on purpose to make sure that we cannot earn our way out of the hole they're trying to put us in. We couldn't control spending, so we raised taxes. Both were planned. They, on purpose, tanked the economy and then printed money for everybody, and then were surprised about the inflation that caused, and then raised taxes. And now the price of food is unbelievable. We enacted the War Times Measures Act, the rebranded name, the Emergencies Act, on innocent Canadians, and used lawfare on them despite it being ruled unlawful by the courts. Nobody ever got in trouble for illegally invoking the Emergencies Act against the Canadian citizens, by the way. Nobody. Katy Perry's got knocked up by Justin Trudeau, and nobody's going to go to jail for this. So our prime minister then divided our country. He thought it was a good idea to mass import millions of foreigners from one part of the world. Crime skyrocketed, healthcare crumbled, housing costs and inflation spiraled out of control. The brain drain continued. We lost some of the best. And then we decided to then elect the drama teacher's advisor for the last 5 years. Out of nowhere, liberal propaganda. Then one day, for no reason at all. Jason James says it's funny watching Canadian legacy media wake from their stupor and wonder what happened out of nowhere. Here's a quick list to help them gain a better understanding. In 2016, and it's still ongoing, Phoenix Pay System, any business that can't pay their staff properly is quickly corrected or people just leave, right? And it's been a long time for Phoenix Pay, and it's still not fixed. And here we are. 2018, Chrysler bailout. Liberals wrote off a $2.5 billion loan to Chrysler for unknown reasons. No recovery of funds. 2020, the We Charity scandal. $912 million student grant program contracted to We Charity. Contract canceled when Justin Trudeau's family were found to be receiving payouts from the We government, or from We, $30 million in initial costs unrecovered. And this didn't bring down Justin Trudeau's government. It should, by every measure, should have brought down his government. Nope. SNC Lavalin scandal? Nah, but it should have brought down his government. $16 orange juice brought down a conservative government. 2020 to 21, COVID-19 relief overpayments and suspicious benefits, $27.4 billion in suspicious payments through programs like CURB and CEBA, $4.6 billion in overpayments, $1.6 billion to ineligible individuals, $6.1 million to prisoners, $1.2 million to deceased people, $3.5 billion to ineligible CEBA recipients, insider payments, corruption, and migrant housing accounted for another billion. So the $912 million looks quaint. The $2.6 billion write-off to Chrysler looks small compared to the scandalous COVID-19 spending, right? 2020 to 21, $237 million on 10,000 ventilators, right? From Frank Baylis, a Liberal MP. That whole scandal, nothing ever came of it. 2020 to 21, unaccounted pandemic spending, $600 billion in unaccounted pandemic spending. $2 billion loan to Chrysler that was written off. $600 billion in unaccounted pandemic spending. Holy smoke. Do you have receipts for that? No. Next question. 2021 to 23, the ArriveCan app, that's $60 million paid to Liberal insiders. This was a bigger deal than the $600 million black hole that was COVID pandemic spending. Anyway, $59 million paid to Liberal insiders. GC Strategies on an app hobbyist recreated over a weekend. Estimated real-world development cost $50,000. GC Strategies received $65 million across 106 contracts from 2015 to 2024 and produced nothing. 2015 to 2023, McKinsey and Company contracts $209 million awarded to Liberal insider corruption. Liberal ambassador to China Dominic Barton was also managing director of McKinsey. Nothing of value was ever produced from this partnership. And there's just a long, long list of fraud, and it's rampant, and nobody seems to care all that much.
I heard from a number of members, and one in particular stood out to me.
Here's Dave Eby being asked, businesses want to leave the province because it doesn't make any sense to build a business here. And his response is, to pivot. His response is to ask another question and then say, I'm fine to be told that I've done a bad job so long as everybody else is told they've done a bad job too. So it's 3 minutes long. It's a little long for this, but you'll get the flavor of it as soon as he starts talking. As soon as he opens his mouth, you'll understand that he is pivoting away from the question and trying to frame the question in a different light so he doesn't look as bad.
Who reached out to me yesterday that given what this budget delivers, and given the expansion in the PST, they are going to pick up and relocate to Alberta, which is a replay of what we saw a couple of decades ago when companies simply cannot afford to stay here to do business. What message do you have to those companies that are faced with those very difficult choices right now?
So it's hard to defeat an anecdote, Bridget. We're second in Canada. Well, we're second in Canada for job growth, 35,000 jobs last year. We've increased per capita investment in this province by 79% since forming government. If we land even a fraction of the major projects that are reaching FID in the next year, that number is going to go up significantly. Alberta is talking about moving out of the country. There was a speech.
So what are you saying to businesses who want to leave BC because it's not affordable for them to be profitable here? Alberta wants to leave the country. Come on, are you kidding? Right? So I can't defeat an anecdote. Well, it's firsthand account, right? Like, I don't know. I think that that's a question that he should have tried to answer instead of pivoting away to, there are other problems than that. It's too often the politicians don't answer the question they're asked. And it's frustrating because people are asking the questions specifically and they want a pointed answer. And instead they get word salad that goes nowhere. Ryan says, this was Melanie Joly yesterday in Toronto. She says Canada is doubling down on EV production. Once again, not listening to what consumers want, but will use regulations to force a market to succeed. Joly does not play hockey, I don't think. She's using hockey analogies that Mark Carty uses, talking about skating to where the puck is going, putting money there, and so on and so forth. But the puck's not gone there, even though we've put a bunch of money there. All that money that we've put there has been wasted. It's gone, right? The Stellantis sold their stake for $100. It was billions of dollars of stake. $100. Here you go. See you later. I'm done. We're not interested. Bye. EVs are not viable. And I think that they're about control. I think they're about controlling people's ability to travel. If you have an EV, if you have a gas powered vehicle and 4 drivers, you could drive straight 30 hours from here to Florida. No problems, no stops, right? Like, stops for bathrooms, but like no overnight stops or anything like that. You could just keep going. If you had an EV, nope, can't do that. You have to stop and charge it. You have to stop for half an hour to charge it, right? A car gets 600 kilometers worth of range with a 3-minute charge of gasoline, right? And so this is not a comparable product. It's about controlling movement. It's not about saving the planet. We're being sold falsehoods, and these people are bad actors. Here's Mel Joly acting badly.
Embrace the vision that we are and we will continue to build the best cars in the world for the world. And what I mean by that is we're doubling down on electrification because that's where capital is going in the world. Because within the next 5 years, 40% of all the cars sold in the world will be EVs. This year, the European Union is actually, within the European Union, there are more EVs sold than internal combustion engine cars. So this is about skating where the puck is going. This is about making sure that we are at the forefront of the development in the sector. And that's why we'll work with companies to make sure that we can help them do that shift and embrace change. And meanwhile, we don't want to be a hostage of our geography. We want to be able also to export around the world. We have 52 free trade agreements with different countries around the world, and we know that we have some of the most productive plants in the world. Of course,
China has much cheaper labor. We send fabrication, all sorts of things to China. We offshored all sorts of factories to China. It doesn't make any sense to send production of cars to Canada unless you're selling into Canada or the United States. Geography is why you would would create a factory in Canada. If you're China, is it closer to build a factory in Canada to gain access to Europe? I don't think so. So this is insane. And China has, as I said, cheaper labor. Canada has more expensive labor. So the position doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. And we're not leading at the forefront. We are ignoring the reality of the situation. The reality of the situation is we don't have enough material to make the number of cars necessary to replace gas-powered vehicles. And that's when you realize that they don't intend everybody to have cars anymore, right? You've got transit, don't you know? So try doing a doctor's appointment and then hockey practice on transit, because that's not going to happen, right? So you don't go to the doctor's appointment. White House is talking about, Trump is, this impacts Canada. I think the 10% tariff he announced includes Canada. And so further tariffing, further conflict, and our government does not seem to understand that it's like they're in a Chinese finger trap. Can you say that? Remember that Star Trek episode with the Chinese finger trap? But it's like the more they struggle, the more they try and pull out, the more tangled they get in this mess. And they can't seem to figure out how to get out. They just keep saying it's Trump's fault, and they get more mad, and then Trump watches them lose their mind. He says, I'm going to add 5% just to see them lose their mind again because it's funny. And I can't blame the guy. I was saying to a friend of mine, I can't remember who, that I would be way worse than Trump. I'd be way worse than Trump. I would be way more tough. But he's playing chess, and he has an idea. One of the other things I want to point out is he has an idea of where he's going. So like a move in chess is an open war. The war is happening in front of you, and you may not understand your opponent's strategy, but you can infer things from their moves, right? And so you can't argue a move in chess. If the square's open or the person's willing to take the risk, then they can take that move, and you can't say, you have to take that back. And very similar, like Trump is making moves slowly, rolling things out slowly, and the counter moves are ineffective to stop his strategy. His strategy keeps rolling out, and the people who are opposing him do things like have the Supreme Court strike down the tariff, the ability for Trump to make money on tariffs, and Trump laughs at them and says, I have 6 other ways I can do this, but okay. And so he starts it on another track, and he's back. Everybody's back to where they were, and Trump wins. And so his move is enshrined. They attacked him, and his backup showed up, and he was able to counter the attack, come out better than in the exchange. Fundamentally, it's not exactly chess. But here's Trump talking about the Supreme Court being compromised by foreign actors, and adding a 10% tariff. And so this is in response to the Supreme Court striking down Trump's ability to tariff countries. And Trump is saying, this is wrong. You're wrong. And there's a reason you're wrong. And we have the evidence. So here we go.
In order to protect, and it says so, in order to protect our country, a president can actually charge more tariffs than I was charging in the past period of a year under the various tariff authorities. So we can use other of the statutes, other of the tariff authorities, which have also been confirmed and are fully allowed. Therefore, effective immediately, all national security tariffs under Section 232 and existing Section 301 tariffs, they're existing, they're there, remain in place, fully in place, and in full force and effect. Today, I will sign an order to impose a 10% global tariff under Section 122 over and above our normal tariffs already being charged. And we're also initiating several Section 301 and other investigations to protect our country from unfair trading practices of other countries and companies. Thank you for your attention to this matter, and I say quite simply, which I've said for a long time, make America great again. And interestingly, we've already made it great, so I don't have to use that, but I don't think we'll ever give up on MAGA. MAGA is always going to be with us.
Okay, so Trump, and that's the first one. Here's some more. Benny, here's the question answer. This is 3 minutes, but we won't listen to the whole 3 minutes. Oh, this is a little quiet. Here we go. Oh, that might be loud now. Hold on.
What will you say to foreign nations who seek to renegotiate their deals? And what did you mean a moment ago when you said that the Supreme Court has been swayed by foreign interests?
Well, I think that foreign interests are represented by people that I believe have undue influence, have a lot of influence over the Supreme Court, whether it's through fear or respect or friendships, I don't know. But I know some of the people that were involved on the other side, and I don't like them. I think they're real slime balls. And got to do what's right for the country. You got to do what's right for the Constitution. That's why I respect so much Justice Thomas and Alito, Kavanaugh, because they not only dissented, their dissent is so strong. When you read their dissent, a lot of times you'll read a dissent and it's like, well, you don't know, it could go either way. There's no other way. The good news is, it's like Justice Kavanaugh said, very strongly said, you have other ways you can go. You don't have to go that way. You can go other way. There are numerous other ways you can go. And frankly, this should have been done by presidents many years ago. They allowed our country to be eaten alive. We lost 50% of our car business. We used to make cars. We made all the cars. And then Mexico came, Canada came, and Japan and Germany. But they're all coming back now. They're all coming back at record levels. No, you please. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking. I don't talk.
No. He doesn't talk to fake news. Here's another one. A reporter asks, you mentioned multiple times foreign influence of the Supreme Court. Do you have evidence for that? You'll find out, he says. So that could be a yes or a no.
You mentioned multiple times foreign influence over the Supreme Court. Do you have evidence of that? And if not, will you investigate that?
You're going to find out.
We'll see. We'll see. Fingers crossed. Mr. Poole says they activated the sleepers. Today's 6-3 Supreme Court ruling isn't a legal decision. It's a declaration of war by the deep state against President Trump. And it proves one terrifying thing: they got to them. Why did Gorsuch and Barrett, Trump's own appointees, vote with the liberals to strike down the tariffs that are rebuilding the country? It's not complicated. They're compromised. Remember the Orion list. The 1,776 names of blackmailed officials from the Epstein files. Sources confirm at least 2 sitting Supreme Court justices are on it. Their activation code was just triggered. This is speculation, by the way. Just take it with a grain of salt, as you take everything with a grain of salt. This is the deep state countermove. Trump released the Epstein files. He ordered the UFO disclosure. I think the UFO disclosure is going to be that it was us all along, because when Trump came into office the second time this term, he was saying that he was going to disclose. Remember when the drones were flying around and everybody was thinking they were aliens and things like that, and Biden didn't say anything and nobody said anything, and Trump said, I'm gonna declassify all that. You can have a read and whatever it is. And then right after he was elected, somebody asked him on stage, like, hey, are you going to declassify all that stuff? Are you going to release that stuff? And he said, yeah, wasn't it us? And he asks, maybe Pam Bondi, or he asked somebody who would be in the know, wasn't that us? I think that was us. That was us. And that was it. That was nothing else was needed. Trump said it was us, so that's fine. You need proof, guys. It's like, where's the evidence here? So if he released it and I didn't see it, that's plausible, very plausible. So maybe I missed it, but it's one of those things. I think that the UFO disclosure will be, there are no UFOs. It's us. Those are us. That's us. And we can't tell you exactly what us it means, national security, but it's us. Trust us. So fingers crossed. So they pulled the emergency brake. The deep state did. Trump is exposing their entire global control system, and so they pulled the emergency brake. And just hours later, who goes on TV to threaten us? Susan Rice. Obama's fixer vows they will punish and hold accountable anyone who supported Trump. She says they won't forgive and forget. This isn't a coincidence. It's a coordinated pincer movement. 1, the compromised court attacks Trump's economic power. 2, the deep state mouthpieces threaten his supporters with retribution. They're showing you their hand. They're telling you what they will do to you and your family if they get back in power. They're panicking, they're losing, and they're getting desperate. Trump's response, he called them a disgrace and an embarrassment to their families. He knows they were turned. And then he did what a wartime president does. He bypassed them and announced a new 10% global tariff. This is the final battle. The swamp is fighting back with everything it has, but they have made a fatal mistake, and they've revealed their assets, and they have shown us their face. So there you go. Maybe. Here is Eric Doughty, and this is Secretary Bessent talking about we are not going to be deterred. The tariffs are going to continue. They're still on and still in full effect. Here's Bessent.
I would also like to take a moment to address today's Supreme Court ruling, and I would note that I did not change a single word in my speech post the ruling. President Trump will always put our national security and Americans first. And as I have said before, the president has multiple tools in his toolbox. Let's be clear about what today's ruling was and what it wasn't. Despite the misplaced gloating from Democrats, ill-informed media outlets, and the very people who gutted our industrial base, the court did not rule against President Trump's tariffs. 6 justices simply ruled that IEEPA authorities cannot be used to raise even $1 of revenue. This administration will invoke alternative legal authorities to replace the IEEPA tariffs. We will be leveraging Section 232 and Section 301 tariff authorities that have been validated through thousands of legal challenges. Treasury's estimates show that the use of Section 122 authority, combined with potentially enhanced Section 232 and Section 301 tariffs, will result in virtually unchanged tariff revenue in 2026. And with
So there you go. Virtually unchanged tariff revenue in 2026. Everything that is on is still on, and maybe even more. Who knows? So interesting. Shea says, I can destroy the trade. I can destroy the country. Donald Trump on tariffs as a weapon. He's only saying out loud what's been said in private for decades. Well, it's just a fact, though, right? He has a lot of leverage. This is Trump describing the amount of leverage that the United States holds, and he's not wrong. He says, we're not playing here.
To be protecting. But I am allowed to cut off any and all trade or business with that same country. In other words, I can destroy the trade. I can destroy the country. I'm even allowed to impose a foreign country destroying embargo. I can embargo. I can do anything I want, but I can't charge $1 to be protecting.
So that's the whole thing. What Bessent said, it's not Lima, but there's an acronym that you can't make money off that. That's the whole thing. And he says, no, that's not. I have so much authority. Strike this down and I will be stronger than you can imagine. TT3 says, all the countries that made a trade deal just wasted their time. Donald Trump says, it's my great honor to have just signed from the Oval Office a global 10% tariff on all countries, which will be effective almost immediately. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Trump. So there you go, global trade and Donald Trump, and he is using it to further his agenda. And his agenda seems to be against the deep state. I don't think that he's a globalist. They seem mad. They seem mad at him. So, but again, I don't know if he works for you and me. I genuinely don't. CBC Watcher says, Trump on Europe. Europe has gone woke. The environmentalists have taken over. I'll let him say it. Here we go.
What alternatives are you going to put into place in your relationship with Europe, and also those tariffs that has been called illegal? How they're going to go impact the relationship with Russia, that you sanction
Well,
some
I want
countries?
Europe to strengthen up. Europe has gone woke. Europe is not recognizable when you go into so many places. Not all countries. You look at Hungary. You look at Poland, Czech, Slovakia. There are some countries that have gone very much the opposite. Some really, and some others. But Europe has to be strong, and they become soft and not recognizable. You go into some of the countries, I don't want to be specific, but I think everyone knows what I'm talking about, and they're not recognizable. They become, the environmentalists have taken over. They've got windmills destroying their fields and their beautiful meadows and their oceans, and they're paying a fortune. Now, Europe has to get smart. Europe's getting killed on two things, energy and immigration. And if they don't solve both of them fast, Europe is not the same place. Yeah, please.
Yep. It's unfortunate and true. So I don't know what's going to go on, what's going to happen. It seems like a civil war is going on at a high level, and they desperately don't want us to notice. And the more we notice, the more, not upset they get, but they try and distract us with things. And so here is some grab bag of governance. What time are we? Oh my gosh, 28. Okay, I've got to say goodbye to the stream. I didn't even realize we were that long. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you want the whole show, head over to CanadaPoly.com. If not, that's okay. I will be around tomorrow. I think we're going to do a kitchen table talk tomorrow as well. So we'll see you then. And thanks for watching. And for everybody else, we will carry on as soon as I